Well, bon dia. Here we are with the resident news review for the week ending, 21st of August 2026. And here to join me to talk through three notable headlines, Paul Rees. Thank you for coming back, Paul.
A great pleasure. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Natasha Don, the Don as I like to call her, taking a well-earned break. So I hope you're having some rest from the relentless news cycle, Natasha, and we'll see you again next week. A few things have caught our eye. Not the cheeky girls, it turns out, Paul, but the Lambrini Girls. Cheek of an entirely different order. Portugal's competition watchdog calls for more rail operators. That spells trouble, doesn't it, generally speaking, even though it seems like a good idea. And another good idea, lower electricity bills. States' return to REN could help lower electricity bills. We'll come back to that as well, because that's of interest to you. I should also note that on the front page of the Portugal Resident, atypical August weather to bring rain and strong winds to Portugal. Some bad weather, autumnal weather coming in on Sunday, Paul, apparently. Climate change?
Okay, yeah, it's building up to my wettest birthday since records began at the end of next week. So
I can see the headlines now. Right, okay.
I know. My birthday is always August bank holiday. So as a kid, it was great because it was always a long weekend. But,
yes, a scorcher.
Or thereabouts. And it was a scorcher. But I think childhood memories erase rain and snow and stuff and just remember the good sunny days.
Yes, well, it may be curtailing people's holiday plans and this beautiful summer. It's been a great summer, I have to say, but there's some disruption forecast, so watch out for that Saturday, Sunday. Talking of storms, political storm as prompted by the Lambrini Girls. Let me tell you a little bit about these ladies. I don't think they would like me describing them as such. They are an English punk rock duo formed in Brighton in the UK, currently consisting of Phoebe Lunny and Celine Macieira Bojgelmish. I almost wish I hadn't started that. And she may be the Portuguese connection, I don't know. They grew out of an earlier Brighton punk band called Wife Swap USA in 2020. The name is a deliberate provocation, Paul. Lambrini being the notoriously cheap British sparkling wine associated with girls' nights out and working-class femininity. They weaponized the stereotype, and they've upset André Ventura, have they not, with their on-screen graphics, which I should warn you, I'm going to put them on the screen now because in the Portugal Resident, the picture is there. So look away now if you're easily offended or if your grandmother is watching the podcast with you this morning. Paul, what do you make of this?
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, it's a very clear statement.
Is it one you endorse?
And there's not at all. I mean, but what I do endorse is freedom of expression. And yes. I think if two girls from Brighton who are having an amazing time, I mean, they're in France next, then they're in the States, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're a good example of how to use social media to boost your appeal. But actually, their music is good, hard post-punk stuff. You know,
You've studied them.
I bet I've listened to them. I've not seen them live. I bet they're really good on stage. And if they want to be rude, I mean, the sign they've got up there that you've cunningly removed the F word.
Yes, I thought I should.
Was one of many political slogans that came up. But André Ventura, the boss of CHEGA, I mean, he's such a whinger. He's taking great exception, saying this is completely unacceptable. The local mayor has distanced himself, saying there's nothing to do with me, and I'm deeply shocked and disappointed. Just get a life, you know. I mean, the pop music and live music and people doing what they want on stage has a long tradition. That's what it's there for. It's
well said.
It's expressing things that in our normal lives we wouldn't do or wouldn't say, and it's a release, you know. And this is at a small venue in a 5-day concert, so it's one act over 5 days, and it's a rude word put on a sign briefly. I mean, it's hardly a poster campaign up and down the country. And
I see no incitement to violence, which is a line I would draw. I do see some mischievous musicians
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
something, and it's like it's a bullseye, isn't it? They couldn't have wished for a better response to this, really, could they?
Exactly. I mean, in terms of clicks and
Yes.
publicity, they absolutely hit the bullseye. They'll probably do the same in France with
Yes. With Le
some
Pen, yes, that's another sort of a small poem or haiku to Le Pen as well. Do you know what any of the other slogans were? Was it like "poo poo to the centre right" or anything like that that we should be aware of?
Israel stuff and just general stuff coming up, but on the screen behind them. So, but
quite predictable, you could say. We could have written it for them, couldn't we?
Well,
it's so predictable.
I think they should get 10 out of 10 for PR ability, and Ventura gets 0 and needs to go on a course, quite frankly.
Yeah. F.38, as how I'll put it, and as you rightly say, Andre was upset, was heard on the stage of the Vila de Mouros festival. Put them on the map as well, where thousands of euros of taxpayers' money are spent, which means CHEGA members and supporters also paid for this nonsense. I think this is what Ventura wrote on social media. Is anything acceptable when it comes to insulting us? Well, it appears so. I mean, one thing here is that he quite likes to dish it out, doesn't he? But doesn't seem to like receiving controversy whilst giving it out in fairly big volume.
Yeah, I think he was spoiled as a child, basically. And it's quite interesting. The saying, it was a gross misuse of taxpayers' money. It's not. The taxpayers' money that went into funding the festival, indeed, if there was a net loss, which there may or may not have been, is to provide entertainment, and this is huge entertainment. You cannot dictate. I mean, this goes back to Salazar. You can't give with one hand and then put a load of conditions with the other. Yeah, you either support.
That's interesting.
You support a 5-day concert or you don't.
Yes, and if you were to be upset from a taxpayer point of view, there are many bands that you could be upset about subjectively, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's a storm in a beaker.
Very good. Guerra de Información are here. Hey, Carl, it would be great to have you in our show. Oh, I'd be delighted. Paul and I are available for all sorts of bookings if you care to.
We're here all week.
Yes. And the veal is very good in Portugal, it has to be said. Portugal helps to follow the Italian recipe and have 2 or 3 others right-wing parties helping CHEGA there. Do get in touch. We're happy to chat. Bon dia, gentlemen. Good to see you. World Traveller 161 with us as well. And typically punk. Adrian's getting into the spirit of things here as well. Good morning to you, Adrian. They also fought for the right to wear pink. Westminster School, where I went for a couple of years, beat Eton College in a rowing race to retain pink as the school colours. It's posh boy punk here.
It was only pink, actually, on match days.
Well,
So the pink jacket and the pink tie was only on race days. You didn't wear it around school. And there was from Westminster, the boys travelled by tube down to Putney, which is where the rowing place is.
Oh, yes.
And you get out the far end, and there's often some lowlife hanging around. And one of the one of the first 8 wearing pink was once set upon by local boys, and I think he broke one leg, one wrist of the attackers.
Did he?
And continued serenely on his way, not realizing that when he wasn't rowing, he was doing judo.
Well, I never. And you could say, couldn't you, that as well as rugby being the precursor to warfare, putting you in a pink jacket is also quite good training for a young public school boy as well. That's quite a niche that we've gone into there, thanks to Adrian.
The best thing to do is travel in pairs if you're wearing that sort of thing.
Yes, a sculling pair, perhaps. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, if that's the right terminology. I think we've probably said enough about the Lambrini Girls. You can follow them around the Europe for the rest of their tour, I suspect. So thank you to the Lambrini Girls. And I did try and hide the F word there. Interestingly, with the F word in Portugal, Paul, I see people with T-shirts. A lad only this weekend with a big F-U-C-K on his T-shirt. You go into a cafe during the daytime, there's a movie on where people are effing and jeffing and blowing each other to bits. Is that like a sort of a cultural mismatch thing? I was as you could see there, a little reluctant to put it on the screen in case my mother's watching, or I might be told off at any moment by a schoolmaster. It does seem a little bit more relaxed in Portugal, doesn't it? The use of the of the English, as it were, swear words. People seem quite relaxed about it here.
Well, I think in a way it's good in that people can be relaxed about it. I mean, it's provocative and potentially offensive, and it actually makes the wearer look a bit of a dick, to be honest.
Take that.
But yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't think that, the elderly and nuns will be scurrying for cover. They've seen it all before. They were young once during a regime when you couldn't have self-expression, so they may well appreciate the fact that you can. But it's just it's tasteless walking around with that on a t-shirt.
Yes, yeah, okay, well said. Okay, let's move on then. I think we should have a look at the railways, which I really enjoy here in, well, I like. I'm the only one in my family who still gets excited when a train passes, and I have young children, and I would hope that they would be a little bit more excited than they appear to be. How about you? Were you ever a train spotter? And is that why you've chosen this?
No, not a train spotter, but it's a preferred form of transport.
Okay, all right. Well, here we are, Portugal's competition watchdog, wanting more different operators on the tracks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think very carefully about what the government is doing. And the highly profitable CP Convoys to Portugal, I think it made about 2 million euros last year.
Did it?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's highly profitable because the government subsidy is just over 100 million. So if you add the two together, it's a public service. It's a bit like France, where I'm sure the taxpayer's actually paying for SNCF hugely. But it's the same in Portugal, and it's mainly to subsidise in the public service routes, in the public interest routes, the sort of far-flung places that wouldn't be profitable for a private company like Virgin or whatever to operate. So yeah, what does the government want? If really the railways are competing against quite a good coach network on the major routes. Faro to Lisbon return by train from memory is about €45. If you go on the bus and you book ahead, it's about €9 each way, I think is the cheapest. So they're already competing against them. And I suspect the coach company, because they are private, are actually making money at that level. So it's quite interesting to see that there's a case for having competition on the main routes, Porto, Lisbon, Faro. But those routes, if you look at the CP site, those routes are kind of busy. They've got the Alpha Pendular, they've got they've got a whole load of traffic on them already. You can't just build another railway next to it. That would be competition, but that would just never happen. So any newcomer will be looking at quite a crowded line, low fares anyway. I think the fares in Portugal are low by any standard. And who they're going to invite. Also, you've got to look at the rolling stock, because the gauge is different in Portugal to a lot of other places. So it's not immediately, you can't just pick up rolling stock and plonk it on Portugal's lines. So it's quite an interesting conundrum. If you look at the UK and the opening up the railways to competition, and you look at the cost of it now, and you look who's profited and who hasn't, it's a mess. It's one of the most expensive transport networks in Europe.
It hasn't worked, we can say, can't we?
Yeah, and it was all launched to it'll open competition and be a benefit to the user. Well, yes. How does that work for you? And I think Portugal's different, and it has a much smaller network, and it's kind of confined to the north-south route in terms of intercity. I don't know.
And it's not broken.
difficult.
It's not broken, is it? I mean,
No,
there was a reason
but
to challenge the curly sandwich and the terrible timekeeping of British Rail
yeah, I mean,
some years ago. And what they did to challenge that didn't seem to have worked. It's made everything
no,
much worse. And I fear the
there
same
has,
thing would happen here.
yeah, you know, you can have people in nice uniforms saying good morning and smiling from Virgin Rail, but if the thing's still not getting there on time, or it's twice the cost, what's the point?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it could be interesting, couldn't it, to bring in some new lines, but these are so investment heavy, it's unlikely that any entrepreneurial approach would want to take that on. They just want to cherry pick what's already working, don't they?
Yeah, because they'll have to pay for the line, the stations, the electricity, everything. You can't put a parallel system in place.
No.
So they have to pay for everything. It's just at the level that the current system is operating, and the pricing, and okay, there's 100 million subsidies, which isn't a lot if you look at the economy as a whole. I think other companies will look at it and say, what's the point? Do we undercut them in price? I mean, 44 euros return from
there's not much in it, is there? No.
550 kilometre round trip or whatever it is.
Well, we commend the public transport here, and it's a great service. Definitely. What I suspect here, interestingly, and I'm sure you'll have seen this, in a week that the social security system, some suspected was going to be privatized or robbed. This looks like a similar sort of thing, doesn't it? Where and this links very nicely to the last story you want to look at this morning. Often some intervention into something that is okay but could be improved. The solution is seen to be privatization, which, as it turns out, on paper is a good idea. It might appear, but the practical reality often seems to be nepotism, corruption, and a way of moving public services into private hands. You know, the railways in UK you could look at, because that's our sort of benchmark. And the water system in the UK, that's another terrible disaster, isn't it, of public ownership into private ownership. So we should resist that. Did you have a comment on the social security debacle this week? Did you read much about that?
No, I didn't. I don't wish to comment on that.
Right, fair enough. I think it's something that you may never need to comment on, because it caused a little bit of a furore, and the government said, no, it's okay, we're not going to do anything, it's fine, everyone can move on. No. And it just felt like one of those, oh, okay, now's not the time. We'll try again in 2 years and see what happens.
Something actually happens, it's not worth commenting
yes, on. Absolutely. Okay, so from the rails then to the energy network. What is it that's piqued your interest with this one then? States return to REN.
It's the government spin machine yet again. The state is purchasing a good chunk of REN, which is the electricity distribution company. It's not EDP. It doesn't send out electricity bills. It's the infrastructure company, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
And the government said, and this will enable us to reduce your electricity bills, over which it has no control, because it's not sending out electricity bills. It's running the infrastructure. So that was a sort of cheap PR sort of attempt, if you like, to make it sound okay. But it is complete nonsense. Had the government come out and said why they are, in fact, purchasing for several hundred million of our money, but buying back a chunk of REN, because a chunk was sold off under Pedro Passos Coelho after the financial crisis. You've got to look at the strategic nature of a shareholding, of a good sized shareholding, in that the Chinese own 25% of Portugal's electrical distribution company. And at the moment, the government doesn't have a seat on the board. So by buying, I think, is it 13 or 14%, they certainly will be represented on the board and will have influence over investment strategy. They can't decide things unilaterally, but if they bring the other smaller shareholders with them, they will have influence. And one has to look a bit further. Okay, influence over what? Everything sort of works okay. Okay, there was the blackout, but that was
Yes.
not really our fault. You've got to look at solar. You've got to look at the commitments on renewable energy, and you've got to look at data centers, all of which require an efficient and effective distribution system. So, is the government making a strategic investment to influence that, or does it hope to profit from it in the future? The governments don't tend to have, they often don't buy things because they think they'll make a few bob. They should buy things because it's strategically important and they can have influence. I think if the government had said all this, instead of saying, oh, we'll be able to reduce your electricity bills, it's patent nonsense. It would have led to some open debate and some thoughtful debate. And it's the way the world's going anyway. A lot of this is dictated by EU policy in terms of renewables.
Yes.
What the government is clearly frightened of is bringing up the whole thing of solar panels and more wind turbines, and over which it has had little influence. It's been a patchwork of highly contested applications, some which have gone through, some haven't. It's a mess, and that's why you've got groups wherever large solar farms are popping up. You've got anti saying, oh, this is terrible, and the Greens saying, this is terrible, but we want more of them. So that's actually where the conflict and the problem lies. And I think the government was really trying to avoid bringing up the whole renewables thing that does need an efficient distribution system.
Yes.
By trying to divert the press, saying electricity prices will come down to the consumer. So
yes, and I think you used the phrase thoughtful debate. That's perhaps a little optimistic in August, isn't it? And also you were saying before about PR training. I don't know if this was on air or off, but PR training for politicians. The Prime Minister pictured here talking about energy wearing a suit on a beach. I would have put him in a high-vis jacket next to a pylon, wouldn't you, if I'd been one of his advisors?
Yeah, I think, at least a hat on. And there's a rather curious sort of Mount Etna in the background.
Yes.
Looks rather
Maybe
ominous.
it's a sign, yes. Conspiracy theorists might be reading more into this picture than we have, Paul.
It just looks completely AI, doesn't it?
I don't know what. I mean, to be fair, it might not have been the picture that went with the press release, news release. It may be a library picture, but there he is, the Prime Minister, suggesting that bills might come down if the government can be a little bit more involved with the process. And I welcome your idea of some thoughtful debate on this. That's not going anywhere soon, though, is it? The point that you brought up there, and you put it very well. I think the idea that the Greens want more panels and renewable energy, but where's it going to go? Have you seen anything imaginative or useful in that department to answer that question?
Yes, they always say brownfield sites on top of factories, on top of car parks, alongside motorways, all the areas that you can't sort of make look attractive, or you all the things that exist anyway. But I mean, that doesn't suit as an investor. You want 1,000 hectares of completely flat line near an electrical distribution uptake point, whatever they're called. That's what you need, and they basically are buying land and changing it. They're removing tens of thousands of cork trees. They've got undulating land that makes it expensive to put in. They're kind of grabbing where they can find the right place, rather than the government saying, all right, this is another whole planning exercise. We're taking renewables out of the normal planning framework and parameters, and we treat it differently and strategically. And let's look at the existing network, where we can make connection points to areas that are unused, like most of the anti-CHEGA. Let's look at the cost-benefit analysis of putting it in location X, Y, and Z, and then actually creating those zones.
Yes,
it's not difficult. A couple of university students could do it in an afternoon with the right mapping system to actually create the optimum system that by its very nature then would be the least disruptive. But no, it's left to the free market. And, You know, that I know, I'm on the inside. People, I know when 1,000 hectares comes up, and I know the sort of people that are after it.
Yes.
And it's indiscriminate as to where it is in terms of national park, amenity value, trees, wildlife. They look at it, how far is it from the nearest connection? And what's the cost of connecting? And the rest of it, then they put in the applications. They put in 10 and get 5 through. They're doing fine. But
Interesting, isn't it?
It's such an exhaustive process for local people that are suddenly threatened by what's going on, and their way of life goes, and it throws everyone into disarray. It's been the same with mining. If you look at the exhaustion of the people that are facing up against savanna resources and the whole state machine, it's exhausting. I remember the anti-oil campaign in the Algarve, of which I was a sort of part, and it was exhausting, and it was nasty, and people give up any sort of trust in authority and the right, their rights, and government telling the truth. It was a really nasty situation, and I don't want solar power to go down the same route, but it is, because you see the government, I mean, for government ministers to say to the licensing authority, you should really look at this from the applicant's point of view, is shocking. Absolutely shocking.
For the foreigners watching who don't have the same understanding of the political system that you found yourself in and are steeped in, arguably, which are the voices who are most conscientious, would you say, in Portuguese politics when it comes to protecting such matters and not necessarily going with the highest bidder and foreign investment and things that aren't in the interest of local or national interests?
Moraes and the general public. There's nobody else. Everybody else is a politician. We must remember that. And their responsibility is to their party, and they do what they're told. The general public, if I go back to the campaign to save Salgados between Galé and Armaçao de Pera, to save that green, nice farming wetland area for birds, instead of building more golf courses and hotels. That was absolutely public interest. That was mad Frank McClintock setting up an online petition that got 36,000 signatures. And you know what the government said? Oh, well, half of them are foreigners, so we won't count those.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, and those are foreigners that come to this country, bird watching and nature tourism, spending money. It was an extraordinary campaign. So that plus press, Natasha was involved in it at The Resident. I was involved in it at Algarve Daily News. The court processes, we had some very kind lawyers helping us, and managed to frustrate the whole thing. And eventually that has turned into a registered wetland area, whatever they call it, not a national
very good
park.
Yeah, maybe a site of scientific interest, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the same has happened in Lagoa, where they were going to build more supermarket and distribution centres over the wetlands there. It's public. Every time, if the public stand up and shout, and quite often it is the foreigners doing it, maybe because we've got more experience or are more outraged and less accepting, that's what happens. But you see, for the lithium mining, the locals are taking very good advice, and they're running an extremely good campaign. And they're jumping up and down saying, no, this is our way of life. And what you're doing is sneaky, and the government's helping the company. Why is it helping the company? Why is it not a level playing field? So it's things like that now, with internet, with immediate communication, get extremely swift and rapid responses. So
very good. Well, that's a positive note to end on. I thought I was going to say to you, well, that's cheered me right up talking about the Prime Minister and the electricity network. But I'm glad we went further on that. And yes, power to the people, as it were. It's a nice circle with the Lambrini Girls in a way, isn't it?
Always. Always.
See, the old punks never die, I guess we could say, couldn't we? And that spirit, whether it's expressed in that flamboyant Lambrini Girl way or in a more orderly and civilized manner, you could argue, power to the people is where we're ending this week. Compadrio counts, says Adrian, often decided in distant locals in terms of who gets to develop it. Not sure exactly what you mean, but I think that's another power to the people vote there from Adrian. Portugal was the EU grant champion, managing to link over 80% of its expenditure to matching European grants, leaving second place Croatia on 40% in the dust. Portugal, like Spain, has a closed list system opposite to Ireland's open right. I'm not sure what Adrian's talking about here, but he does seem very knowledgeable on a number of things, including the Entroncamento Railway Museum, which he suggests we visit. I think maybe a day trip. Can you imagine Yumi and Natasha going to Entroncamento? We'd have a lovely day out, I think, at the Railway Museum. Paul, have a great weekend. Bon fin de semana to you. We'll be back with Natasha next week. And all the best to you. Find Paul at Rural Properties, where I imagine you are having the most wonderful time in central Portugal at the moment, enjoying the summer before it gets a bit rainy, Paul.
Yeah, the rain is always good, but yeah, no, it's been a fun time. Everyone's worked through August, and it's there's such a lot going on that it's it's great. Life is good in central Portugal.
All power to your elbows, and until we meet again, thank you very much. Te logo, ciao, ciao, bon fin de semana.
Bye.